Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game of the Computer Rapid Chess Championship in 2022. We have here Stockfish versus Revenge in a beautiful old Benoni defense in the so-called Mujannah Formation. The Mujannah Formation is this formation when you play first of all the move c5 and then afterwards the move f5. So you having sort of a Benoni and Dutch defense idea. You can use also this Mujannah formation with the white pieces. You can play c4 then afterwards to move f4. There are certain positional and strategic ideas why you want to do this kind of idea, but I would not recommend it for you to play this one, because here I think Stockfish will show really how to dismantle this Mujannah formation in a brutal, sharp attacking way. And I faced many times this Mujannah formation myself. I have a decent success against it. It's not the problem. It's not that I lost many games against it, but I really didn't feel comfortable because I really didn't know the main theory sort of about this line, because it's an unfamiliar setup. It's an unfamiliar concept to me. So that's why I really didn't feel comfortable, although it should not bother you so much, but I think you have to have at least some kind of a setup, at least some kind of a preparation against these types of structures. So I think if you have trouble, maybe if you have faced already this types of structures, this attack that Stockfish will play here, this idea, I think you can use in your own preparation and have really a nice counterplay against these types of structures. So I wanted to also tell you a very important new setup here on my YouTube chess channel, which I think can be useful for you. I use now this lead chess studies in my analysis, and basically in this lead chess studies everything that I do is memorized, but the cool part is that actually you can also actively add maybe some important lines that you are thinking maybe are important to add maybe into my analysis. Maybe I missed something that you're thinking it's very important to also add here into an analysis. So maybe this idea is not present in the video, so that's why I will show you now. For instance, in this particular case, in this particular game that we'll analyze today, I will show you the link to this particular game, to this study, and I will also send you the link of my lead chess account, so you can maybe text me, or you can maybe text me in the comment section below, and you want to be maybe a member of my analysis. So I will add you then into my member list, and then you can also contribute by analyzing also this particular game with some of your own ideas and add it into my analysis. Then I think it will be a much better analysis with a complete more complete sort of analysis, with more ideas, with more opportunities, with more sidelines, with really very nice setup. So as I said, it could be very interesting because it's an active approach of you. So as I said, here you have to text me, then I will add you as a member of my lead chess studies. So okay, let's check out now this game. As I said, Stockfish 15 against here the Revenge engine in the beautiful Mujannah formation. So here Stockfish opened with the move d4. c5 was the response by Revenge. We have now d5, and now after move f5 we have reached now this structure. And many times when I played the game, as I said, I played many times this kind of an idea. Knight to c3, my opponent played many times the move knight to f6, and most of the times my opponent was my brother. He's using now many times this Mujannah formation. After move knight to f6, I played many times this idea, which comes with the normal threat bishop to f6 after g takes or after e takes f6. Then I want to play the move e4, break the center here with some activities, and I could have a good game. But the problem I think about this line is that black is playing many times the move queen to b6, connects now the queen to the defense of the knight on f6, and also is hitting now the pawn on b2. So as I said, maybe it's nothing spectacular, still you can protect this position with rook to b1. But as I said, I really didn't feel comfortable, I didn't know what to do, and in the near future you can do with the black pieces something like this: knight to a6, knight to c7, and maybe with the move e5 you can also break the center here, d6 e5, g6 bishop to g7 could be a normal setup here of black. So let's see now how Stockfish is playing against these types of structures. So Stockfish plays first of all the move g3. In the continuation we have now knight to f6, and now with the move bishop to g2, Stockfish is preparing a really beautiful setup with knight to h3. Knight to h3 is now a beautiful move that you can use against the Mujannah formation. Notice from the square h3 the knight is coming on f4, and from the square f4 the knight is controlling e6, is controlling the g6, but also supports a potentially further attack on the flanks with the move h4 h5. That's the way to go. The knight on c3 will come. First we play c4, knight to c3. The bishop, the dark bishop, has already a good activity. Then we play something like, I don't know, maybe even e3 or something, or even kingside castling. But I think with knight to h3, knight to f4, with this beautiful maneuver, you can really have a powerful setup. So this is the way to go. So let's see now how Stockfish continued in the game. We have now g6. Now comes this idea, knight to h3. We have knight to a6, and now the c4. First of all, supporting now the pawn at d5. We have now d6, and now knight to f4. This move is very important because many times Black will try the move e6 or e5, will try to break you now in the center. Now this is not working because the knight is already powerful there. Okay, maybe your opponent could play ideas of g5, but this move would cause a new structural weaknesses because still Black wants to castle here, and if Black plays now the move g5, Black would be simply too exposed here in front of the king, so maybe Black can have his fun with one tempo against your knight, but I guarantee you he'll not kick away your knight from the square f4 with the move g5 because he would mess up his whole position on the king side. So this is not the way to go. So here in the continuation, bishop to g7, and now the fun starts. h4, h5, and from this point on, it seems to me it's like a one-way ticket here. It's a much better position already for white. I think you could really have fun by playing this particular aggressive approach against the Mujannah formation. So knight to c7, okay. Black has his plan, like the Benoni structure. It's not the Benoni, but it's similar. We have this d6, c5 setup. The bishop is here on g7. It's a fianchetto bishop. We're still trying a6, b5 breakthroughs with the support of the bishop, so it could be still a very interesting attack here by Black. But now Stockfish simply continues with the defensive approach here, a4. It's not allowing this b5 move to come. So we have now kingside castling, h5 immediately, knight to h5, knight takes h5, and look at this. After g takes h5, I think mission accomplished. We have already messed up here the pawn structure in front of the king. These are three weaknesses: the weak pawn on f5, the weak pawn on h5, the weak pawn on h7, and now Stockfish simply takes, rook takes h5. Okay. White is not going to maybe castle now anymore on the king side, but it doesn't matter. I think with this aggressive approach, you don't even have to castle because we still have an active bishop. This bishop is very powerful. The knight will come on a natural square, and now look at this. After bishop to d7, the queen is coming also on a very interesting square because now the queen is hitting the square h7, maybe not directly, but indirectly. Now if this diagonal clears, then of course the h7 pawn is the long-term weakness. So in the continuation, we have now a6, trying this b5 breakthrough. Now g4, very nice move here by Stockfish, very aggressive move. We have queen to e8, and now a rook to a3. And in this position, revenge resigned. I'm just kidding, but look at this. You know, when Stockfish plays a rook lifts, this is such a devastating already setup. I think we can feel really already tension here, because let's flip the board. Imagine now just this position. You're playing now this position with the black pieces against a much stronger opponent. Just imagine it for a little bit. I think many of us wouldn't feel comfortable here because the rook is coming here. The bishop is very active, as I said, here on this diagonal. The queen is already very interesting. The bishop could also come here on light squares into the game. The knight will eventually also come on a natural square on c3, so in my opinion this is already a messed up position for black. Really wild stuff. So let's flip the board again, but I think many of us wouldn't really feel comfortable here with the black pieces. So in the continuation, we have now queen to g6, we have now rook to g5 attacking the queen. The queen has to step back, g takes f5, bishop to f5, and now with the move e4 the bishop has to retreat again. Bishop to g6, and now look at this, rook to g3. First we had this h-file attack, now Stockfish changes the attack on the g-file, and there are no certain threats of f4, f5, maybe even e5 if the position allows it. Maybe with the move e5, look at this, the rook is also controlling the 5th rank. Maybe with the e5 we can break and enter here in this position. Already very interesting here, set up by white. So in the continuation e6, this is a must move, I think, here for revenge, because the only chance that you can maybe win the game is maybe through the e-file, because we have to agree, the king is still in the center. Many of us wouldn't play maybe this attack by Stockfish because of the possibility of blacks maybe to attack the center. But actually, we should not be so worried, because here Stockfish continues with this normal plan, f4. And look at this, e takes d5 is not even a possibility here. This wasn't played in the game, but if e takes d5 bothers you here, this is not the way to go, because we can play f5, And notice if you retreat now with the bishop on g7 is hanging, so we would be forced here to continue with this kind of an attack with rook to e8, and now c takes d5. Maybe you can even try knight to d5, but look at this. We're developing still the piece, knight on c3, knight to c3, and after b takes c3, pardon me, the c3 is still protected, the rook on g3 is protecting the c3 and also the queen, so no queen to c3 moves are possible. You would probably continue with the move d5, but look at this. Now we get out of this attack, and the problem I think here is also in this particular line, even if you take the pawn on e4, you get queen to b3 and the game is over. You cannot cover yourself, of course, with bishop to f7. First we take and then we get out with the queen. So you would be forced to maybe step back with the king on h8, but look at this. You can even sacrifice now the rook to g6. After h takes g6, rook to h3, for instance, is winning the game immediately here for white. So really a devastating attack it is. You can get attacked on the light squares, you can get attacked on the g file, you can get attacked on the h file, so it's really brutal setup. So after move f4, that's why rook to e8 was first played by Revenge, so you don't have time to open the position with e takes d5. Now you're threatening to play e takes d5. Now Stockfish continues with the normal plan. We have knight to c3 and now b5, but again, if you try here, let's see, e takes d5, then f5 is going to happen, and now you have to take, because if you take with the pawn, as we said, which just pick up the bishop, and you don't have time because you have to take with the pawn. You cannot take with the rook. You cannot actually open the e file. That's the most important here defensive strategy of white. So as we said, after move knight to c3, here we have b5. Revenge is trying at least an attack here on the queen side, but now Stockfish plays an interesting move, bishop to f3. Trying now bishop to h5, really continuing the pressure around the square g6 where the bishop is, and this is now really the most important square to attack. In the continuation, rook to f7, black is connecting now the rook to the bishop on g7 is also a little bit loose here. We have bishop to h5, finally this attack, and now e takes d5. Stockfish continues with bishop to g6, h takes g6, rook to g6, and now the queen comes very actively into the game. But Stockfish plays now very important move, queen to g2, defensive move, not allowing some ideas of queen to h1. Really good here chose by Stockfish 15. So now Revenge goes king to f8, we have now c takes d5, and now bishop to c3, undermining a little bit the protection of the e4 pawn. Now Revenge is maybe trying some ideas of rook to e7, and also maybe attacking the pawn on e4 further. So after b takes c3, in the continuation we have king to e7 by Revenge, trying to get out of this mess, out of this attacks by white. In the continuation we have also king to d1. Stockfish is trying to secure maybe the king on c2 here. So we have rook to h8. Now Revenge is maybe trying to simplify the game by trading off the queens, maybe in the check on h1. We have king to c2 and now knight to e8. So here Revenge is also including a new defender into the game. But the downside about this move rook to e8 is knight to e8 is that you're leaving a little bit here your support on the queen side. And even if you play, let's see, queen to h2, if you're trying to simplify the game, we'll just pick up here the pawn, you play maybe check, we're trading off the queens, and now after move f5 still, this is a much better position because of the opportunity to play now a very nice move, bishop to f4. The d6 is now a huge weakness. It will be, I think, a huge tactical problem in the continuation of the game. So in my opinion here, again, a completely winning game here for white. So after move king to c2, that's why knight to e8, as we said, trying to control further the king, trying to have a new defender in front of the king. In the continuation, Stockfish continues now with a takes b5, and now queen to e2. Look at this, the knight is on e8, it's not protecting now the move, the pawn on b5. So now again, new problems in black's position. So we have rook to f6, rook to g4, attacking the queen, queen to h7, f5, we have c4, finally protecting now the pawn on b5, and now bishop to g5. So see, maybe this was even unnecessary for Revenge to go with this rook in front of the king, but as we said, the d6 is weak. You are vulnerable also here always on the 7th rank. The queen could also come into the game here on dark square, so many really tactical opportunities here for white. So in the continuation, as I said, after c4 we have bishop to g5, king to f8, and now queen to e3. We have now b4, c takes b4. After queen to d7 we have now queen to c3, attacking the rook. Rook to h2, here rook to g2, of course protecting now the king. Rook to h1, and now finally after bishop to f6, here it's game over. If you take, of course, knight to f6, then the queen is coming into the game and you're going to get checkmated. So here, that's why the revenge engine tried to maybe do some perpetuals, try to do some perpetual checks, and maybe force a draw, but actually Stockfish calculated this really beautifully. Here you cannot even play queen to d1. Here Stockfish created a scrape route for the king. You will get your checks, but no perpetuals, as we said. So king to e3, we have queen to d1, rook to g3, king to f7, bishop to d4, we have rook to h1. So even if you try rook to e1, as we said, we have king to f4. You can maybe try one check, but now with king to g5, no good checks are possible. If you play, of course, queen to c1, we'll just trade off the queens, and then the game is simplified enough that white is a completely winning game. So in the continuation, as we said, bishop to d4, we have rook to h1, queen to c4. Stockfish can even grab now some pawns here. We have rook to e1, and now again, this is the same defensive strategy. Queen to d2 doesn't matter because now the bishop is protecting the king, and of course the rook is also protecting the bishop. Queen to h2, rook to g7, nice move, really nice stunning tactical shot, because if you take now knight to g7, but this wasn't played in the game, you get actually even checkmated. Rook, queen to c7, after king to e8, you're playing again a new check, and now a very nice subtle move f6, decoying the king here towards the knight. Now we play check. You can maybe take out the pawn, but now with queen to g7 you're getting checkmated. Really nice tactical shot. So that's why after rook to g7 we have king to f8, rook to g6, rook to a1, trying to get a new defender into the game. We have queen to b5, queen to h4, a couple of checks, but again the king can hide on g5 and no good checks are possible again by black. So we have queen to h7, and now bishop to d4, really nice move, attacking now the rook. And after rook to c1, now comes the winner, the stunner of the game. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the winning tactic here. It's actually even a forced checkmate, so take your time and search for the best move here. So try to solve this small chess puzzle. Okay, the winning move is actually here bishop to g7, because if you take with the knight, this wasn't played in the game, but if you take with the knight, then you get to this one, rook to f6. You have to step back now with the king. Now we get this one. You have to again cover with your knight, and now you're running into a checkmate sequence. So that's why here after move queen to g7 was played. Now rook to g7. Now again the queen is coming into the game. You have only the knight that can protect you. Now you just deliver, of course, one check, but now no checks again are possible, just some stupid checks that are prolonged the game. Of course, we have king to h6, and now after knight to f6 a new check, again a new check, and here after rook to g7 it was a beautiful checkmate here by Stockfish 15. So great game. If you have problems against the Mujannah formation, this is the way to go in my opinion. g3, bishop to g2, knight to h3, knight to f4, h4, h5. And as I said, please, if you have some questions, if you have maybe even some novelties that you want to include into this particular analysis, please add it. So I will text you now in the description below this link of our analysis, but also I'll text you the link of my Lichess homepage where you can text me, and maybe we can text some messages, and then you write me, I'm your viewer on YouTube. I wanted to add some analysis into your analysis, and then of course I will add you as a member of my analysis, and we can of course discuss more about this opening, maybe more about certain tactics maybe that I missed in this particular video, because I think you can actively then also analyze this beautiful games played by Stockfish, but also some other games that I analyze also here on my YouTube chess channel. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot because now I have a beautiful secret weapon against the Mujannah Formation. If you want to maybe see more of these beautiful Stockfish games, check out our coverage with some more beautiful games played by Stockfish, Lila 0, Alpha 0, and many, many more. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.